Hello and welcome to another episode of Fintech Focus TV with me, Toby. Today, I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Jeff Hancock from Coinpass. How are you, Jeff?
Very nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. So, listen, it's a really interesting area and space you're in. Crypto asset platforms have been sort of thrust to the limelight again at the moment, and we're seeing more and more growth in the area. Your story is a really interesting one. Let's kick off hearing a little bit about it. Tell us about your journey and tell us about Coinpass and what you're here to do.
Sure. So my background's always been in engineering. I've been a tech guy for all of my career. Started out in hotels and casinos, working in cybersecurity infrastructure. It's nothing like Ocean's 11, trust me. It's all,
It's a better movie though, right?
it's a much better movie than it is in reality. It's very, very old school, but it's good fun. Moved over to the UK, looked after data centers, which was everything from food brands like Goo Desserts, Ella's Kitchen, all the way up to trading funds. And once I got off my working visa, I had an opportunity to work with the SoftBank Vision Fund when they first started out. Spent about 14 months helping them scale out their tech and cybersecurity in London from about 11 people up to about 160. And very entrepreneurial space, dealing with really big numbers, big teams, big brands, and literally just got intoxicated with the whole startup fintech entrepreneur vibe. Obviously, different scales. We talk about £100 billion fund, but I thought I'd double down at the same time and get involved in crypto. I'd been involved in property investing for a while. I've always been a tech guy or a tech investor, or I'd been in crypto about 2 years at that point in 2017. And a couple of friends of mine came to me, who are now my co-founders, and said, I'm looking to buy, £5,000 or £10,000 worth of Bitcoin. How do I do that? And this was in like mid 2017 when it was still $1,000, $1,800, something like that. And I said, well, you use euro or USD, something like that. They said, no, I want no FX exposure. Where's a professional, legitimate way to do it in the UK? And at the time, there wasn't really one to use. There were a couple here and there, but you were converting to euro and sending it to another country, or you using Swift, or it was too expensive, or there's a lot of kind of bottlenecks. And so we set out just to why not? Let's do it ourselves. Came up with an idea on a napkin. Came up with a business model. Bought a domain name on the mobile phone, literally at the bar, and then 8 months later we had a product. Launched it to a small group of 100 people just to kind of test the waters and see how it would go, doing Bitcoin and Ethereum only for pounds. And then 4 or 5 months later we were profitable in revenue for a very early stage startup. And then we knew we need to really scale this out and not just take it seriously as a business, but where do we see this business and business model going 5 years from now, not just in a year? Because in that 1 year, the whole market had changed just in 2018. So through 2019 and 2020, and eventually, where we're going to go from here, has become more of a financial services business than just a crypto business. Regulators have started to catch up. Banking's gotten more sophisticated. AML, KYC, KYT has gotten more sophisticated, and so are the people that don't want to live in that space. So we've worked very, very hard on our brand and our team, on our technology, and obviously working really hard with UK businesses to kind of get them into crypto fast, secure, and safely.
So you speak about the brand there, and I see some subtle hints to Coinpass on yourself
Always,
and
always
the
on brand.
background.
Always on brand.
Always on brand. And I noticed that your marketing, I think, has been exceptional, and you've sort of pushed the name out there a lot. I know you're doing the Coinpass pod at the moment as well, and that podcast seems to be getting some really interesting debate on it. Talk to us about your thoughts around that. What was the inspiration, and how's it going?
I suppose the inspiration about it is that just the crypto community that we, for lack of a better term, grew up with in London and the UK is still very small and still very tight knit. And a lot of the guys that we met very early on that helped give us, a lot of feedback, helped us with our initial product, that are actually our customers and clients. They're either B2B for fiat on, fiat off, so they connect to their bank and they're bring crypto in as part of their mining, or their commissions, or their business or trading, get into their bank accounts back and forth. We generally always like to help our mates and work together. And when I'm a consumer of media, I think we all are, whether we're reading, listening, or watching. And there's a lot of stuff out there, like we're doing today. We're talking about financial services and crypto, and about our story. And I wanted to kind of get away from that a little bit and talk specifically about really key topics that don't necessarily age, that have exceptionally smart people and experts in their field, and just making content that is kind of timeless, that everyone can benefit from. So basically went through the Refidex, went through the address book, called up 50, 60 of my good mates that we're always talking about it on the off season, or around the bar, or around a WhatsApp chat. Let's professionalize a little bit and make some content, and get it out to an audience that'll appreciate it.
How's that been going?
It's been going really, really well. We did one this week with Easy Crypto Hunter. Big shout out to Josh, doing some really, really great work up there in Manchester. He's one of the biggest crypto mining businesses here in the UK. Really, really big proponent around the green energy, and about incentives around getting more green energy onto the grid, and using it specifically not just for replacing our aging infrastructure, coal and etc., but using it for good, for crypto mining, for AI, for modeling, for all the other kind of stuff that goes with it. And he's got some really, really great ideas, great experience, and a really great message. So we made a really good podcast this week that's just gone out.
Nice. Look into it. Have a listen. Now, you're talking there about that sort of the curve and the undulating form of crypto over the last probably 3-4 years. I'd say it's been there's been various waves of the crypto journey. Where are we in it at the moment? What's the industry saying, and how's the pandemic impacted and affected what's been going on in the space?
Well, the pandemic's been an interesting kind of catalyst, because I think it's basically put people in front of their machines and in front of their phones for longer periods of time than they would have otherwise. So in some ways, it's really allowed businesses like ours to get in front of more people a lot faster, through social media, or through direct messaging, through word of mouth, through whatever, which is really, really great. But at the same time, there's equally as kind of, for lack of a better term, garbage out there that is able to get people's attention through deeper pockets, through black hat marketing, through ads, or through whatever. So I think there's definitely more attention on the space at the moment. And I think with that, coupled with what we've seen with rampant money printing by the US and the UK, in retaliation to what's going on with the economy and the COVID epidemic and stuff like that, is that there are big businesses out there now that are looking at crypto as a form of digital gold that it's easier to self custody. It's very liquid. They can trade it when they need to. They've got less less confidence in traditional fiat, and we've seen businesses like Square make a $50 million investment. Grayscale in the US controlling something like $6 billion worth of crypto assets for their clients under an ETF. You've got MicroStrategy, which recently did an additional purchase. I think they're up to about 425 million right now.
Yeah.
That are using Bitcoin and crypto as a reserve on their balance sheet, because they see it as a long-term, a long-term asset in an emerging technology space. Now, will it always be there? Then, well, that's debatable. But their term and their outlook is, well, everyone's going to want some eventually. We see this as a comfortable hedge against fiat currency right now, and it kind of can't be ignored. So it's in our best interest, and the business's long-term interest, to hedge away from US dollars or from pounds and take something on board like crypto, even if it is volatile, even if it does move 500 pounds in a day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And with that, we've seen those sort of massive swings over various years. And in fact, I was just talking to someone earlier on today who'd made a little bit whilst friends and got out, and other friends of his lost significant amounts of money at that sort of stage. There's been an awful lot of bedroom traders suddenly come out the woodwork, looking at this sort of get rich quick schemes that are around the space. Is that something which you see continuing, or is it professionalized a little bit now?
Well, I think it will continue to continue. It is still, there are parts of the space which are still very wild west. We had the ICOs back of 2017. You could have a glossy website and a PDF, and people could get interested in your idea and be a part of that early success. And that was I invested in a bunch of ICOs, and it was a very boring day when your portfolio only goes up by 5 or 10%. It was very, very average. We had the IEO phase, bringing that sort of that fundraising into the exchanges, which is very, you know, a lot of people disagreed with that because it's in, you know, the initial token issuers' best interest to have it instantly on an exchange. It's in the exchange's best interest to have a bunch of free tokens and all the liquidity, and whoever buys last is left kind of holding the bag. So it was a model that, you know, some people got, you know, very wealthy very quick, and a lot of people lost. And now we're seeing the new emergence and new tokens in the DeFi space where it's not even a company anymore. It's not even an ICO. It's not even an IEO. It is a smart contract that can be coded in a couple of days. It can have a website or sometimes not even a website and just have an idea behind it. And you float onto the market and the market decides the price. You know, now if you're the issuer, the first million tokens, then yeah, you've got everything to win and very little to lose. And there will still be these continued experiments and technical innovation is even going to go on. And I think as soon as we kind of get past, you know, the kind of let's not call it scammy for the sake of just using a vague word, but the less reputable stuff that doesn't have a track record yet. I think we're going to see a little bit more of that until, you know, everyone kind of wises up and sees that this is the super risky bit and it's good to play and it's good to experiment. But here's where the real investment and diversity and algo trading, etc., goes on. And I think while we're still either end of the spectrum, it makes the whole market a bit more mature because that's exactly the same as what's out there in, you know, traditional financial services or traditional stocks and equities. You've got the blue chips, and then you've got the pink, you know, the penny stocks. That's always going to kind of be there. What really needs to improve, I think, is the quality of education to isolate, you know, what's a blue chip and what's a penny stock. I think that's kind of what we need a lot of work on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there has been tremendous movements further forward in recent years. You touched on the on funding there in a different sort of sense, but there's also some interesting things that you're doing at the moment, isn't it? And going for the next phase of growth. Talk to us about your sort of funding journey.
Yeah, so we started out, you know, as a traditional startup. You know, a few of us sit around a table, put some of our own money into it. They launch the alpha, get our first client, get the first 100, get the first 1,000, etc., etc. And we jumped into this revenue and profit space kind of quickly. So we didn't start with early investors. We didn't do a token raise. We've grown basically organically through our history, which has been great. Our next kind of phase of growth, we are going to hold a funding round. It will be for equity. We're not going to do a token raise because we are going for FCA permissions and regulatory permissions. And having a token there just causes a lot of extra headaches that we don't really need right now. So we're hoping to get a EIS advanced assurance. So we're going to be targeting and talking with angel investors here in the UK, maybe some early stage VCs, and are going to help work with us on our next stage of growth. We may or may not. We're still working on some ideas and strategy at this stage, which we put that together with a crowd round on something like Seeders or Crowdcube or their new platform when they're finished merging.
That's exciting, isn't it? And your reason for going down, there's obviously various different routes that are open to people at that sort of stage. What's made you go down that sort of particular route?
I think it's definitely just onboarding users is obviously what every platform needs. You need to have not just good liquidity and a good product, but you need users to obviously make your platform useful. It's kind of what it's for, right? The crowd round gives everyone a piece of a piece of that pie, so they're not just a user getting a discount. They actually have a vested interest in the success of the company. I've taken part in many different crowd rounds for equity and for token as well. And you do feel not just attached to the hip, but you do feel, you know, quite proud that you've put something into that company and you've taken that kind of risk, and they do exactly what they say they're going to do. Those are the great success stories, and we kind of want to be on the other side of that for once. Instead of the investors, we want to do something good for our investors. So a crowd round will be primarily as a marketing and PR to onboard more users to give away discounts at various levels. So if they're a £500 investor or a £1,000 investor, etc., we're going to have a perk structure, which will go from, you know, some discounts, some merch, you know, early access to new platforms, you know, monthly sort of calls with our tech team and our marketing team to kind of see what's coming up on the horizon and kind of get them inside the inner circle, all the way up to doing post-COVID, you know, fingers crossed, being able to do some live events. Because one thing we do like is we do love to network and talk to people and learn about what they want from their kind of platform, which has led us to where we are today.
So that's a very interesting piece, isn't it? The post-COVID piece,
Yeah,
and
it's kind of like it's. I hope everyone's on the same wavelength. That they say when, not if.
yeah,
The
yeah,
world will definitely be different when it's all over, but I hopefully we can get back to, back to the fintech and the crypto community events that were in the UK, in London, every other night of the week. You kind of had to prioritize which ones you want to go to because there were so many.
absolutely. And it was growing ever more rampantly as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
With that
really,
way.
really. It was getting very busy towards the end of 2019 and January, Feb this year. It was mental. You couldn't fit it all in.
So with that being a part of your strategy, I presume, how do you pivot from that and reprioritize that marketing?
Partially part of the podcast was for that, making content, getting out to people, connecting and creating value. I think you can run as many ads as you want and get in front of as many people. I'm not a really big responder to ads because
Yeah.
I understand how they work. But I think if you're, the method we wanted to use was to reward the users that are here through giveaways, through promotions, through sign up bonuses, through whatever kind of opportunities we have there, instead of blowing our budget on ad spend purely to
Mm,
attract new sales. Because I think if you have recurring users in your business, those are the ones that you want to reward and show loyalty to because they've shown you loyalty first. Purely having uh, a top funnel heavy business that relies only on new sales will ultimately run out of steam long term. So we want to not only encourage our existing users to come back, but make them exceptionally happy and exceptionally feel like they're loved because essentially they pay for the team to keep doing what we're doing.
and how does it become? Look, you're there and you're talking about some exciting stuff for investors within it. Who should be looking at this? Who are you expecting to be interested in, and what's in it for them?
Sure. So you've got your regular investors. They might be a job, they're a consultant, property investors, something like that. They want an easy and quick way to buy crypto. That's a UK run company, UK based company. So their funds are going to stay here in the UK. They're not going to shoot off instantly to Singapore or to other part of the world. So they have a protection there. Someone that is regulated by the FCA, which is something we're going through at the moment. We're working really hard on our FCA regulation all of this year. We should be very, very close by the end of October. Yeah, end of October, beginning of November. And insured assets under custody as well. Taking our security very, very seriously and taking funds under funds that are kept on the platform very seriously as well. A lot of the kind of the hacks and the negative part of the space kind of gets forgotten about really, really easily. I think like some of the big exchange hacks, 200 million lost, 50 million lost, this, they're kind of out of the news cycle within kind of 2 weeks, and yet the show goes on.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a bad way to run business, really. So specifically targeting UK and Europe investors and users will be the primary bit. We do have a B2B platform as well, so we partner with businesses, limited companies, whether they want to take a position in Bitcoin and vice versa. They can do it in their limited company instead of their own name. So if you're sitting on a bunch of profits and stuff there, you don't want to necessarily leave it in pounds. And if we go to negative interest rates next year, that'll be
Mm.
an interesting narrative. The first time I've had negative interest rates in the UK. As well as doing integrations. So we've got a couple of clients that use our platform as a service. They can, basically bake the Coinpass exchange into their own mobile app, onboard users, trade, wallets, etc. And that's how we currently serve our current clients. And those are some of the things that the investors can look for.
You just mentioned, so, and we've sort of highlighted the sort of C word. You put Europe into the mix there, and we haven't mentioned the B word yet with
Oh, the B word, yeah, Brexit, very interesting.
with everything
Yeah,
that impacts there. Tell us about that.
so the impacts. I mean, we haven't got a lot of European clients right now. Some
Mm,
of the Brexit rulings are still a bit blurry into what's passportable and what's not. Um, Especially stuff like you start talking about places like Ireland and that as well. Again, it's just a
yeah.
big question mark. We may have to open up another office to serve our EU clients. There have been some firms that have moved out of the UK and over to places like Luxembourg to kind of take care
Mm,
of their UK clients. But I suppose at the moment, because we are UK based, because we are UK first, it doesn't affect us as much. All of our clients are here, all of our partnerships are here, and this is where we live. So being cut off from the EU is not yeah, sure, it's a risk, and everyone's going to be aware of it, but we're not so widespread right now that it makes a massive contributing factor to our ongoing business.
There was an interesting thing you said to me earlier on, about the sort of reasoning for the growth, and I think that's quite exciting, isn't it? About, you know, why this fundraising round and why now, etc. And you used the phrase, I'll read it here because I wrote it down.
Oh, no.
Blurring the line between banking and crypto,
Yeah.
which I guess is the vision and the purpose for you, right? I love that, and I love you to expand on it a little bit more. Tell us a little bit more about your thoughts
Sure.
there.
So I think it's kind of like we want to blur the line between banking and crypto. Banking and crypto have kind of been like, you know, the couple either side of the dance floor, and you're, you know, at junior school, and you're only allowed to dance within kind of like a half a meter of each other, and the teacher come over the rulers are going to make sure you stay away from each other. And that's kind of what crypto and banking has always been like, from, you know, very, very early days even up to today. And we feel that there's a really big opportunity that crypto and banking can be exactly the same thing. There's a lot of really, really good tech that can, you know, fix a lot of the problems in banking. It can solve a lot of the middleman issues. It can take out a hell of a lot of cost. And by just us doing our bit, blurring that line together on our kind of product suite, we know we can solve some of the problems that a lot of our users face in simply trying to make a deposit and trying to make a trade, trying to, you know, move digital assets back into fiat and vice versa. There are other options already out there, but they come with kind of caveats. You sometimes can't see a price until you're, you know, onboarded and have funds on the platform. Sometimes there are minimums and maximums. You know, minimum trade is £5, £10, £50, or maximum is, you know, 1,000 a day or something like that. There's still a lot of, you know, bottlenecks and freedoms that aren't there because there's a rule set that's been put in by another country, or it's a subsidiary of somewhere else in British Virgin Isles or in America, or there's never been at the moment, in our opinion anyway, a UK first, UK run, specifically built product for the UK to achieve just that, and that's where we want to pioneer and innovate.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're talking a lot more about, from the way I've heard it, collaboration as opposed to challenge. And I think, you know, if you look at it some time ago, it was always, you know, would there be this sort of war between the banks and the crypto world, etc. And banks were very, very standoffish. I was, you know, I held an event myself, you know, was it probably 5, 6 years ago, and there was a senior person from a major investment bank who was very skeptical about the crypto world, and a year later it was a different story that he was humming towards it, predominantly around the use of technology and
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, blockchain technology at that sort of stage. Your words there are about how, you know, it can improve the banking process as opposed to challenging it and threatening it, and on a collision course for it. Is that the way you see? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
sort of what. Yeah.
I got asked a question about a year and a half ago, I think it was. Like, people were comparing transaction speeds on blockchains. You know, what's going to be the killer app that takes down Visa or Mastercard? They do 24,000 a second, and some of these blockchains are struggling to do 5, etc.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you're never going to beat them because they're simply going to come and join us. You know, you're going to read the memo. It's really nice up here on the moon. Send us some money. You know, they're going to come and join us one day. And now Visa, Mastercard, um, JP Morgan, they are experimenting with the best of kind of what's available now. They've looked at Ethereum. They've looked at, you know, some of the properties of Zalika. They've looked at, you know, Bitcoin. They've looked at all this kind of tech and sat back there with their own innovation teams, getting the best help, the best minds, the best advice, seeing what's worked, seeing what's hadn't, and now they're starting to join the blockchain and the crypto sphere with offering their own product. You know, look at something like recently this week is PayPal. PayPal is going to be offering Bitcoin. How are they going to offer it? Well, big surprise, it's going to be closed loop. You can have exposure to Bitcoin. You can send Bitcoin to other people on the network. And they're looking at purchasing a custodian as big as BitGo to help kind of facilitate and make that happen. That is a massively bullish news for people that are either pro PayPal or people that aren't. People that aren't, I think like, well, okay, there's 300 million users now that have access to Bitcoin in their PayPal account. They can't send it outside the network, but are these users going to stay in PayPal? No, they're probably going to come out and join the rest of us in all of our other platforms. So it's just a really, really strong sign that traditional banking is taking notice and seeing the, you know, the advantages of it. Regulators are seeing the advantage of it. It's like, well, you're telling me I can track where every token's ever touched every single wallet in real time. that's interesting and adventurous.
Mm.
The pound that I have in my drawer here next to my wallet, I don't know where that pound has been. On a
Yeah.
digital currency for an AML compliance, you can actually tell the history of where that pound has been. It does create a little bit of a dystopian sort of feel, but used in the right way, it can be very powerful for some of these banks. And I think as soon as you start talking about, payments and reconciliations and ledgers and stuff like that, banking already has a massive issue of trying to settle different ledgers between different banks overnight, post trade, T+1, T+2. Having all of that data in real time that everyone can agree on will fundamentally change the way banking's done. Uh, Locally, cross border, internationally, it doesn't matter. There's so many reasons to be excited about it, and I think we just need to get over the the whole Bitcoin's going to change banking. Like, no, Bitcoin's going to improve banking.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's absolutely the route where it's been going, isn't it? About that sort of improvement and opportunity as opposed to
Yeah.
the threat that it was potentially seen as at various stages. Speaking of threat and regulation, you spoke about a little bit further on. How friendly are the regulators being to this? Because that's traditionally been a sort of a handbrake to the sort of growth
Yeah.
of the crypto world, hasn't it? And we've seen countries pull the brakes on it, full stop at various stages, and other ones be slightly more friendly to the whole movement. What are we seeing? What's the predictions there?
So there's definitely different levels of love hate between different parts of the world. We've seen places like India ban it 3 times and then take the ban off and put it on. The UK's improved its narrative, which I think is a positive sign. It started off, Bitcoin is crypto and crypto is everything and all of it's bad. To, well, there's exchange tokens, there's utility tokens, and there's securities, and there's derivatives. Okay, cool. Well, you've gotten to 4. That's great. Some of the recent consultations I don't necessarily agree with, like banning derivatives to retail traders.
Mm.
Yeah, I can agree with a little bit of that argument, but there's a lot of other stuff that is a derivative base that offers a really good product to an end user. Look at Hargreave Lansdown, SIP pensions through CoinShares, etc. What Danny Masters and all the guys are working on over there. Some of those legislations affect quite a lot of those, from the face of it, very simple products, but in the background, they run on certain kind of instruments. So some of the blanket bans that kind of come out of nowhere don't really help anyone. And I can see they might have been changed or repealed, which just makes it really, really confusing. But I think they have the best intention to make it just like what the FCA handbook says, a fair, efficient, and secure market for all participants.
Mm.
They're very worried about KYC and AML. They're very worried about terrorism funding and etc. And they're very, very focused on market manipulation. And if those things can be, kind of squashed out and dealt with in a super legitimate and very professional way by regulating the gateways and the endpoints and the service providers and etc. You have to register with the FCA. You have to have a money laundering officer. That's a good thing to have. You have to have a good compliance officer. Again, a really good thing to have. And you have to have fit and proper people running the business, which is probably a good idea if we're to be considered a financial institution, which I think a lot of us do want to be. Do
Mm.
I want to be a Barclays bank? Well, maybe not, but I do want to be a regulated crypto exchange that works with banks really, really closely in a really, really good way. So I think if we try and draw on the positives and try and push forward, the good, calm, kind of happy show, rather than, we're not trying to bring all the junk into the space. We're trying to bring all the good stuff into the space. And
Mm.
I think they're spending more time on the junk stuff than enough time on the good stuff. But come January 2021, when the registration framework is kind of completed and you have to be registered and it's kind of done, then I think the industry will kind of start to change and see some of those positive effects.
And you're excited, obviously, about the future, and
Oh,
this
definitely.
will see the next sort of phase. You talked to me about how busy you are at the moment and all the cool stuff that's going on. Give us a sort of snapshot
Yeah.
as to what to expect from Coinpass. Where's it go? What's the big vision, and what can we
Well,
expect to see in 2021?
Well, as you know, Bitcoin goes to the moon, so we'll join you on the moon. I'm joking. So we always, not just glass half full and ignoring all the negatives. There's some very big, very big players out there that are interested in the UK because it's one of the financial centres in the world, and rightly so. A lot of fintech, a lot of startup capital comes out of London and disperses to wherever for investment, for trading, for high frequency, for family offices. London and the UK is a hub. And we feel we can make a real positive impact with our brand, the clients we work with the B2C, B2B. We want to be, the UK's choice for, on-ramping and crypto to banking connections. We are going to offer a trading platform towards the end of this year, beginning of next year, so people can trade and execute, not just on and off ramp with us as well. We have our mobile app coming out in a few weeks, something we spent a bit longer developing than originally anticipated, because we wanted to deliver something really, really clean, easy to use and recognizable out of the box. We didn't want it to look like every other app out there on the market, so we wanted it to be a unique experience. And just take the time with it, really. Some of the things that I'm excited about longer term are not just having a way to facilitate buying and selling and trading, but other ways to earn crypto, whether it's earning interest on it. So we already have insurance on our crypto custody. Having stuff like a copy trading service for people that are interested in trading, but don't know the fundamentals of it yet, or don't want to waste their money. Having a demo platform so you can paper trade, that kind of stuff. Introducing some more educational tools for people to be a bit more active in their learning and a bit more active on the things that make the space different to other financial services and stuff like that, and getting those kind of light bulb and aha moments faster through people's journey. Those are the kind of things I'm really excited about.
It's a good times to come, and people who are listening to this and watching the show and hearing about what you've got planned and saying that's a bit of me and I want to get involved in that. What's the best way of them doing it? How should they get in touch, and how can they get involved in your sort of angel show?
Sure. So everything goes basically through our main website or our social media. So you go to coinpass.com. Very easy to remember. All of our socials are at the bottom of the page. They're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. We are going to be putting more stuff on YouTube as well. So be sure to give us a follow, and any feedback would be awesome. When it comes to doing our investment round coming up in the future, we will be doing a lot of that over our LinkedIn and our email list. So be sure to subscribe to the email list. And you never know, you might go into the draw to win a nice rare hoodie, one of these ones. Some other merch we have lined up, and be first to the best dress when it comes to when the investment round's available.
Sounds good to me. Well, listen, I've enjoyed hearing about it, and it's great to see. And there's so many more things that I could be talking to you about and going into more detail. So we'll have to cram that into a next show. And actually, there's something I want to talk to you about offline as well that I think would be quite an interesting piece too. But we'll come on to that as well. Jeff, it's been great having you on the show. Thanks so much for sharing in such detail, and really excited to watch it. It's going to be an interesting year for you guys next year by the sounds of it. So thanks for coming on.
Can't wait. And thank you very much for having the show. All the listeners, be sure to subscribe and share. Tell your mates, leave us a comment, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Good man. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you soon on another episode of Fintech Focus TV. Thanks a lot.